Hi, this is Stuart Nachbar with Educated Quest. With me today is Drew Riley. He is Director of Admission at Denison University in Ohio, only about a half an hour from Columbus, which, believe it or not, is the second largest city in the Midwest after Chicago. Denison is a school with about 2,200 undergrads, a liberal arts college, but it's got a few extras that you won't see at many other liberal arts colleges. It's also become a more national school, even though its roots have always been in Ohio. Drew, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Stuart. Appreciate it.
What type of high school student would be attracted to Denison versus other liberal arts schools?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Denison certainly fits firmly in the tradition of the liberal arts. Students are going to get a broad-based education. Students are going to learn those critical thinking skills, communication skills, writing skills that are the core of a liberal arts curriculum. But there are some things that make Denison a little bit different from a lot of our liberal arts peers. One of them that's really become foundational to Denison is it's a place that's really focused on helping students prepare for and think deeply about what they want to do post-graduation and think about their careers. And it's not to say that other liberal arts colleges don't do that, but I think Denison tends to attract students who are a little bit more vocationally, professionally minded, and are thinking about those next steps in really serious ways. So we've dedicated a lot of resources to a phenomenal career center. As we expand our curriculum, we focused on areas where we can help our students prepare for lives in the 21st century and careers in areas that are developing across different fields. And so that's something that has really started to set us apart from some of our liberal arts peers. Denison also, in terms of scale, we're a national and international campus. So we have students right now from almost all 50 states, about 47 of them, I believe, at the moment, and from about 55 different countries, and about 18% of our student body are international students as well. We're a 4-year residential campus, so students do live on campus for all 4 years. And so living and learning beside people from all over the country, all over the world is a really fundamental part of the Denison experience as well.
So there are more international than there are, say, from New York or New Jersey?
That's probably true, actually. If you add up all our international students, I think they make up the largest population, pretty close to Ohio. So Ohio's going to be roughly 20% of our student body, and then about 18% international. Outside of Ohio, our international students, our largest populations are from New York and New Jersey and Massachusetts and California, actually.
What do you tell someone from California when they ask about weather and they ask about, things to do in the
Yeah.
community?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like you said earlier, we sit about 30 minutes from Columbus. And so, easy drive into Columbus, certainly. And Columbus, like you said, it's a major metropolitan area, 2.5 million people. I always tell students, if you are craving a particular type of cuisine, or if you love a particular type of art or performance art, or if you love going to sporting events, etc., you're going to find those opportunities in Columbus. The flavor might be a little bit different. The particulars are going to be a little bit different, but you'll definitely find those opportunities and then some things you didn't expect as well. At the same time, we sit right in Granville, which is right behind me here, quintessential college village, roughly 5,000 or 6,000 people in the Granville village here. And the community really embraces Denison students, and it's a place where students get really involved in campus life as well. So they're going to be pretty busy on a day-to-day basis with their peers and in the community of Granville. I lived in California, and I know that Californians come in all shapes and sizes as well. So I always tell them, if you're into the outdoors, we've got a huge national forest within a 30-minute drive of us here. We've also got a large bioreserve that takes up about half of our campus. So we'll get you outdoors. We don't have redwoods, but we'll do our best. And if you're into city life, we can provide that, and just about everything in between. So
I've been to downtown Granville, but it's been a long time for me. It seemed like it has like a taste of Columbus with some of the
yeah.
restaurants and the shops, but obviously it's not anywhere close to the city.
Yeah, exactly. It really is like kind of an eclectic scene. There are a lot of folks who live in Granville a lot of folks who are, have relationships to Denison, either teach at Denison, work at Denison, et cetera. But a lot of folks who commute into Columbus for work. And so it's become really diverse. Some really great restaurants. We actually have a really good new Asian fusion restaurant that just popped up this last year. That's been exciting for us. There's a barbecue spot that was in Columbus, became sort of a cult favorite in Columbus, that just opened their first brick and mortar shop in Granville. So yeah, always evolving, but always something good to like. And Denison or Granville is definitely known for its Saturday farmers markets, and students attend those pretty regularly as well. The farmers markets on Saturday, people actually come from all over Central Ohio to come to the Granville Farmers Market. It's an event for sure.
Can students do internships in Columbus during the school year?
Absolutely, yeah. So we have internship coordinators in our career center who work with companies really across the country, across the globe, but certainly here in the Central Ohio area during the school year, to give our students some real world opportunities. So Central Ohio is home to about, I believe right now it's 16 Fortune 500 company headquarters. So it's always been known for retail. A lot of retail organizations are headquartered here. Food and hospitality, a lot of companies headquartered here. And then recently we've got regional headquarters for companies like Facebook and Amazon. Intel just announced they're opening a massive headquarters here. So we've been able to attract a lot of industry over the last few years. So it's provided a lot of opportunities for our students. One of the things that we launched this just about a year and a half ago is called the Denison Edge program. So it's actually a facility in downtown Columbus as a part of an extension of our career center, where students have the opportunity to work with employers and professionals in a variety of capacities from the Columbus area to do skills building, essentially. So to work on some of those skills that employers are looking for that they don't necessarily learn in the classroom environment at Denison, to help prepare them for that next step.
So let's say it's a pre-law student and they're thinking about law or public policy. They could work for shadow an attorney, or they could work for the Ohio legislature or the mayor's
Yeah.
office or something like that. And if they're pre-med, they could shadow in a hospital or
Yep.
another healthcare setting.
Absolutely, and we leverage both our location, right? So you mentioned there where Columbus is the state capital, so it's a sixth largest state in the country, one of the biggest state capitals in the country. So we definitely take advantage of our location there. But then also a really deep alumni network that we use. So we've got alumni certainly at the Capitol, also in major hospital networks around here, and major businesses and corporations in Central Ohio, and spread out throughout the country, that we tap into to give our students some of those opportunities.
How do students get to Columbus to take advantage of these things?
Yeah, there is a twice weekly shuttle. So if students don't have a car or another way to get into town, that's an easy way to do it. Students can park for free on campus for all 4 years. And so if they want to bring a car to campus, they're more than welcome to. And then the other way that a lot of students will get into town is Uber. Something I didn't have when I was in college, certainly, but easy to get on the Uber or Lyft app and get a ride into Columbus like that.
So a couple of people might pool and go together, that kind of thing.
That's pretty common. I think most students, if they don't have a car, they probably have 6 or 7 friends with cars, and they'll organize a trip to, go shopping or go to a movie or something like that in the Columbus area. Absolutely.
It's okay if you don't know the answer to this, but I'm just curious, what would someone pay an Uber to get a ride to Columbus?
It's probably about 40 bucks from Granville into like downtown Columbus area.
So I better split the fare with my friends.
Yeah, bring along 2 or 3 people, and it'll be a little bit more manageable. Yeah.
Now, you touched on some that there's been unique opportunities for a liberal arts school. Do you want to give a few examples of them?
Yeah, definitely. So a couple of the programs we've developed over the last few years that have become some of our largest major programs on campus. One of them is global commerce. So our approach with global commerce was, in the liberal arts setting, Denison doesn't have a business school or something like that. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't prepare students for business careers. In fact, I would say if anything, Denison has been known for a long time for sending our alumni into careers in business and finance and management and marketing and a lot of those different areas. But they do it with, typically economics degrees or even, biology degrees or a variety of degrees from Denison. Global commerce is really a response to larger business programs set within a liberal arts curriculum. So it's focused on experiential opportunities, hands-on opportunities. Students actually have to do some sort of experiential semester during their time here. Most students do a study abroad for global commerce. So we have a lot of different programs throughout the world that are set up for students to get that experience. But some students will do a semester-long internship and earn credit for that internship as part of their global commerce program. So that's been really successful for us. Another one of those programs is data analytics. So we have a phenomenal math program, phenomenal computer science programs that have been growing actually over the last decade or so at a good rate. What we learned from employers is that they're looking for students who have the data literacy and data knowledge and skills, and even some programming and a really decent math background, but also have a lot of those soft skills, able to translate that data into decisions and in communicating it to other people. And so that's what data analytics is designed to do. It kind of sits between some of those humanities and social science disciplines and the strict math and computer science discipline. And that's been a really, really successful program for us, and something that may be growing into future, minors and disciplines and concentrations and things like that, as it's really taken off over the last 2 years. So a couple others, we launched a global health major at a time when global health became a topic of daily conversation in most households. And so that has definitely taken off as well. And then just this last year, we launched a journalism program. And, that was, it's a program that certainly a lot of colleges have a journalism program. We have professors here who wanted to do journalism in a very, very contemporary way. So focus not just on print journalism and not just learning the rules of how to make a newspaper, et cetera, but really focused on multimedia and telling stories in different forms and different media and over the long term, essentially. So our students are now doing freelance writing for places like The Atlantic and The New Yorker, and then they're doing showing up on the front page of the Newark Advocate 15 minutes from campus. So it's really, really an interesting program, but again, it's designed to be very contemporary and very modern, which again is where we're trying to focus all of our curricular programs as we go forward.
Denison's produced its fair share of actors too.
We have actually, yeah. So we've got a long tradition in the arts at Denison. A couple of the most well-known actors that Denison has produced were Jennifer Garner, who spoke at our commencement about 3 years ago and did a phenomenal job. And everyone will know from a variety of things. And then of course, Steve Carell of Office fame and a million other projects, certainly. But yeah, both Denison alum. In fact, Steve Carell was one of the founding members of the Burpees Theatrical Company, which is the improv club here on campus. And so he'll come back for an occasional anniversary performance. He was actually here in fall of 2019 and did the 40th anniversary performance with the Burpees on campus.
Will there be more? I know the Eisner Center just opened, and Denison's always had the cinema house for a while. Will the performing arts be upgraded over the near future?
Absolutely, that's been a big part of the strategic plan. So the last strategic plan, and then we're in the process of developing a new strategic plan, is to continue to amplify the arts on campus. So I'm glad you mentioned the Eisner Center. We opened that in 2019. So the Michael D. Eisner Center for the Performing Arts. I always joke that parents know who Michael D. Eisner is. Unfortunately, many of our students have not heard of Michael D. Eisner, but former president and CEO of the Disney Corporation, and proud Denison alumni as well. So beautiful facility, mostly focused on the performing arts and our music, dance, and theater programs there. Gorgeous Sharon Martin Hall, state-of-the-art theater, rehearsal rooms, stage design, black box theater, dance studio. It's really an absolutely gorgeous space. So that's really allowed us to do more performances, more ensembles, things like that throughout the performing arts in particular. And then we have an absolutely phenomenal studio art building as well. and our studio art program has continued to be really, really popular on campus. So yeah, so it's core to our mission to continue to have really, really strong arts programs and to continue to offer BA programs in the arts and not to have a conservatory. And that's been a part of the focus as well. As we want a program where students can study psychology and continue their passion in music, where they can study global commerce, but continue to dance at a really high level and study that as a major as well. So that's a focus for us.
You bring up an interesting point. The visibility of the university has grown well beyond Ohio. You said it earlier, like about a fifth, only a fifth of the students come from in-state, and as a fair-sized international population. I guess the schools that people considered in the past are very different from the schools they consider now.
Yeah, that's true. Denison has always had a large number of students and alumni in the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic region, but the footprint has grown considerably over the last decade or so. And so, we've always had students who are considering Denison and considering a lot of our liberal arts peers. There's a great tradition of liberal arts colleges here in Ohio, places like Kenyon and Oberlin and Worcester and Ohio Wesleyan, and a lot of our buddies and peers here in the state of Ohio. Increasingly, when students are looking at Denison, we're learning that they're also looking at larger universities, places like Miami University of Ohio here in Ohio, Case Western up in Cleveland area, and then even further afield, places like Wake Forest and University of Denver and Bucknell, and yeah, just a different variety of institutions throughout the country. So it's an interesting place to be in where, we're certainly at our core still a liberal arts and sciences college, but I think there's some aspects of Denison that students who are looking for a school with a larger scale, with some different opportunities, a slightly more professional bent to the academic experience, are starting to identify Denison as one of those options.
That's really interesting because you think there are people who say, I may not be able to get into a place like Case Western, or I may not like that it's got so many people are in engineering and I'm not an engineer. Do you get those people like they're on their way to one school, they stop at Denison, and all of a sudden they've deposited with you in the fall?
We do. I think sometimes that they're nervous on paper about going to a school with 2,300 students, but when they actually experience what 2,300 students means at a place like Denison, they actually see a bigger scale than they imagine. They meet a bigger variety of people. They see a bigger footprint in terms of just the buildings and the grounds that we have here on campus, the resources available to us, but at the same time, they see the small classes, they see that people know each other, they see that everyone lives on campus, they see the relationships that our students develop with the professors, and they're really attracted to that. So it is definitely not uncommon for students to set a list with some larger institutions, and then end up coming to Denison and saying, oh, I can actually get a lot of that here, and some things that I am really interested in pursuing as well. Yeah.
How did Denison handle campus life during the pandemic?
Great question. So, like every school in the fall or spring of 2020, when our students went home for spring break, we had them stay home, had remote learning for the rest of that semester. And, it was really tough for our seniors at that time. But it also, I think, created a resolve throughout campus to come back to in-person learning as quickly and as safely as we possibly could. And so that summer, I can tell you from experience, was a whirlwind of planning and more planning and more planning, and just trying to determine what we could do to resume in-campus operations. And so our students actually came back to campus in the fall of 2020. Typically, our enrollment is about 2,300 students, and we're fully residential, like I said earlier, so all of them live on campus. In fall of 2020, we had about 2,100 of them move back to campus. So a lot of international students stayed remote. Some domestic students chose to continue remote learning during that time. But most of our students had the exact same calculation, said, this is why we're here. We want to have this experience. So it was not a typical year, but to be honest with you, it managed to be an incredibly fruitful year in spite of the obstacles. We had regular testing protocols, we had distancing protocols. Many things like athletics and arts were impacted in huge ways. We had outdoor classrooms, and we expanded our classrooms into spaces like our chapel and our big auditoriums and things like that, in order to distance students across campus. But we had fewer than 40 positive cases, and 0 hospitalizations, 0 serious cases during that entire 2020 year. And then finally, when we got news about vaccines, we made a big effort to get the vaccines available to our students and faculty and staff as fast as we possibly could. So we rolled those out to our students pretty quickly. And then when classes resumed this year, the vaccine was required for all faculty, staff, and students. And so we actually have a booster requirement in place now. So we've got an entirely vaccinated student body with a couple of exceptions, students who've received medical exemptions, but we are over 99% vaccinated altogether, and it's made us able to, resume what as close as we can get back to normal life. Sports are back on, athletic events, the residence halls, all those big social events are taking place again. And so we've been really fortunate in the position we are to be able to do those things, but our student body has been behind us every single step of the way. They've made the sacrifices they need to make in order to keep the train running, and it's been really inspiring to see them come together to do all of that. The other thing I'll mention is we had a lot of, again, taking advantage of our location here, we had a lot of support from a team of epidemiologists that we had on retainer from Ohio State University. So obviously one of the biggest universities in the country and major medical programs down there. So we have a team of epidemiologists that we worked with throughout the entire pandemic and continue to work with to help guide our policies and practices throughout the entire event.
Well, congratulations on having success, this successful year and weathered all this. And thank you again for your time today. I really appreciate this. And I know people who are listening will appreciate the opportunity to learn more about Denison.
Entirely my pleasure. Thanks for having me again. Take care.